wanna go write a million songs if that's the way to be. I want a class to beat them all and go down in history. I'll be the one to reach the stars, but only if you're with me tonight, 'cause that'll be the life. I'm gonna go write a million songs if that's the way to be. I want a class to beat them all and go down in history. I'll be the one to reach the stars, but only if you're with me tonight, 'cause that'll be the life. 'Cause that'll be the life. 'Cause that'll be the life.
Hello again and welcome to episode 63 of Main Street Martin and part 1 of our January 2026 week in Malta with Jet 2 staying at the Waterfront Hotel in Sliema. So here we are in Sliema and here is our hotel. We're on the 8th floor of the Waterfront overlooking the harbour and across the bay to Valletta. So here we are on the 8th floor, and if only you could smell the building. It's absolutely gorgeous, the smell in the corridors here. And we are here in room 812. Really impressed with what we've seen so far. Usual bathroom, lots of amenities, and then a sizable shower. So plenty of space, which is nice. I know a lot of people like to have a bath, but I think a walk-in shower like that is really, really nice. And I love the decor in here actually. Really nicely done. Nice welcome message on the TV. We've not unpacked yet, so we haven't had a chance to trash the room. A couple of chairs. Really nice size actually. All the usual stuff. Tea and coffee making facilities. Down here is the fridge. And then in the wardrobes, the safe, extra pillows and so on. And something you get quite regularly, but it is always a nice touch. The dressing gowns and of course the slippers. Now one of the nicest things about this is the view is nice. It's a side view, I think it's described as. So let's go out and have a look at that. I think that's quite a nice view. But it's a view across the right Manuel Island and in the far distance over to Valletta. Now the great thing about this hotel is that it's set along the sea promenade in Sliema and features views of Sliema's port, the Manuel Island and Valletta. The fabulous facilities include a restaurant, a bar and has free Wi-Fi throughout. There's a buffet breakfast which is served daily, and you can also enjoy light snacks or dinner at the lobby bar all year round, or 10 Live and the Cielo Lounge in the summer months. And this is the hotel pool across the road, which has a lovely view across to Manuel Island. The hotel is just a 15-minute walk from major shopping centres, and there are restaurants and shops right outside the front door. The Sliema ferry port is just 600 metres away, and our transfer from Malta International Airport took no more than 25 minutes. Good morning and welcome to our first day. The sun is shining, a little bit windy, and they reckon top temperature around 16 degrees Celsius today. Now don't forget to check out our previous episodes. We've been to places including Walt Disney World, Disneyland Paris, various other theme parks in the USA and Europe, as well as other holidays in Mexico, Portugal and Spain for example. And we've taken various cruises providing Mediterranean series in places like Marseille, Rome, Naples and Athens. So just around the bay from our hotel, this is the bridge to Manuel Island, which we're going to go and take a look at today. So before we explore Manuel Island, a reminder that you can still check out all of the previous episodes, and if you enjoy any of the videos on the channel, please make sure you click on the like button, ring the notification bell to be informed of any future videos, and please help the channel if you can by subscribing. Thank you. If you've seen our previous videos, you'll know that we've been to Malta before, and indeed Sliema. We discovered on our first trip that Maltese historical heritage dates back 7,000 years when megalithic temples were built and mysterious societies inhabited the islands here to then disappear suddenly, leaving only traces. Malta is supposedly one of the first countries to have embraced Christianity following the shipwreck of St. Paul in 60 AD. There are 365 churches scattered around Malta, and you'll find at least one in any village main square. So this is Manuel Island. It's a fascinating place. Back in 1570 it was acquired by the church and became known as Bishop's Island, reflecting its ownership by the Bishop of Malta. Then in 1592, during a plague outbreak, a temporary quarantine hospital known as the Lazaretto was established on the island. This initial structure was made of wooden huts, but was dismantled after the epidemic subsided. In 1643, the Order of St. John exchanged the island with the church for land in Rabat and built a permanent lazaretto to manage the influx of diseases from visiting ships, and this facility was then improved over the years. Between 1723 and 1733, Grand Master Antonio Manuel de Villena commissioned the construction of Fort Manuel, a star fort designed by military engineers René Jacob de Tigne and Charles-François de Mondion. The fort was built to enhance Malta's coastal defences and is a notable example of 18th century military architecture. Now, after the British took control of Malta in 1800, Manuel Island served various military purposes, including a base for the Royal Navy during World War II. The fort was used as a submarine base, and the island was then referred to as HMS Talbot or HMS Phoenicia during that time. The Chapel of St Anthony on the island was destroyed during a bombing raid in March 1942, and following the war, the island and its fortifications fell into disrepair and were largely abandoned for many years. So it's not difficult to see why. It's associated with local folklore and includes tales of a ghostly figure known as the Black Knight, who's believed to be the spirit of Grand Master Villena. Sightings of this apparition have been reported by soldiers and workers on the island over the years. morning and welcome to Sliema on our second full day. We're actually heading to the ferry port to buy our travel card and to take the ferry over to Valletta. These are all the excursion boats here with icy Malta. Now, we did one of these last time we came here and took the excursion ferry over to Gozo and Camino. We're making our own way to Gozo tomorrow to meet some friends who are going to show us around the island, take us to some of the places that you wouldn't ordinarily see if you were just on a tourist excursion. But the travel card that we're getting is for 4 days. It's unlimited use of all public transport, including the ferries to Valletta, and then we're paying the add-on to get the ferry, the fast ferry that is, to Gozo. I think it comes out at 31 euros, but we'll find out when we get there. So we made it to the ferry terminal and I went up to the counter and asked about the 4-day ticket, which includes all public transport apparently, and in which you could add on the fast ferry to Gozo, but they tell me that you can only use it for other than buses if you're residents. So I would say one of the frustrating things, and I remember this from last time we came in Malta, is that the ticketing situation in terms of travel cards and so on is so complicated. As you can see here, there are 5 different Talunja cards. They're all for different things. You can add on numerous other things as well, but then when you ask about it, it's, or some of it at least, is only for residents. It's a bit frustrating. So I think what we might get now is one of the small boats just to take us over to Valletta for 3 euros. A very short journey over to Valletta by small boat, and here we are back in the sunshine. Small boats are really useful. They're only 3 euros each, and the whole time we were there and took that small boat journey, we didn't see a single ferry. It probably saved us a bit of time as well. So we've just come from that way. Down there is a big fountain, water feature, and that's where the buses drop you off. And then behind us, I think this is Freedom Square. And when we came last time, this was all being renovated, but some of the pillars still as they would have been. Others have sort of disappeared over time. And the city wall behind us as well up there. It's a really nice atmosphere. So as you can see, there's an open air theatre inside. So just off Castile Square, this is the Our Lady of Victory Church, formerly known as the St Anthony the Abbot Church. It was the first church and building completed in Valletta. In 1566, following the siege of Malta, the Grand Master at the time, Jean Parisot de Valletta, and his order showed interest in building a church in the name of the Nativity of the Virgin as a form of thanksgiving. The construction was then funded by de Valletta. It was built to commemorate the victory of the Knights of the Order of St John and the Maltese over the Ottoman invaders on the 8th of September 1565. As you can see, there's plenty to see inside the building, and the church also has a number of artistic treasures. The paintings on each end above the altar depict St Anthony of Egypt and St Anthony of Padua. These were brought to Malta in 1530 by the Knights of Malta after the Emperor Charles V gave the island to the Order of St John as its base. And the church also contains works by the likes of Francesco Zara and Enrique Arnaud.
His remains were moved to the crypt of the new cathedral, St. John. The Valletta lies there today between 1699 and 1752 and 11.
So just behind that museum are the Upper Baracca Gardens. You can see the trees at the top there. And that's the lift that takes you down to the port. So if you've ever been here on a cruise, you'll undoubtedly have come in and gone up to Upper Valletta using that lift. There are some ships in at the moment. Beautiful gardens over there as well, and the walls going all the way around the city. It's a beautiful day for January as well. Okay, it's about 16, 17 degrees at the moment. And these are the Upper Baracca Gardens.
The Upper Baracca Gardens provide peace and plenty of shade in the summer months. They're right next to Castile Palace, and they offer fantastic views of the Grand Harbour and the three cities, as well as the breakwater. The gardens are built on top of a bastion on the highest point of Valletta and date back to 1661, when it used to be a private garden for the knights. It wasn't until 150 years later that the gardens opened to the public. There are a number of statues and monuments here, including a bronze group called Les Gavroches and a statue dedicated to Winston Churchill. And it's worth remembering, as you'll see in a moment, that every day at noon, members of the Malta Heritage Society, dressed in British artillery uniforms, fire a salute.
Welcome to the saluting battery. We are now 30 minutes away from firing off one of these guns at 12 o'clock on the dot. This is an age-old timekeeping tradition started by the Knights of St. John, which we are keeping alive up to a daily basis. And now one of our gunners will be starting a demonstration on how we load and fire the guns we use today. So if you're interested in a fantastic photo opportunity or to learn more about the history of this place, all you have to do is head down behind the fountain, down to the reception area where you can book your tickets.
Thus, a gun fired at sunrise or sunset would indicate the approximate time by which the gates and bridges of that town were to open or close. It would also signal the beginning and the end of the curfew, if this was in place. In some parts of the world, cannon fire was used to announce the exact times of prayer, and the start and finish of the working day too. In Malta, this practice remained till the start of the 20th century.
Here is somewhere else we haven't been to in Valletta before, St Catherine's Monastery. It was founded in 1575, initially to care for female orphans. It was built as solemn thanks for prayers answered, and the stonework used to build this monastery was literally dug from underneath it. In fact, the open quarry was then turned into the underground complex you can experience on your visit. Over hundreds of years, cloistered nuns made an oath to lead a life of prayer, contemplation and of service, and from within the walls of this monastery, what is probably the last generation of nuns carry on the legacy to this day. The underground complex is packed with stories. From ribbed vaulted rooms, you'll find the peaceful central garden, the fiery ovens and the undisturbed burial place. This complex is really fascinating. From the hustle and bustle of Valletta's sights and sounds, this silent underground complex is a real oasis of peace and tranquility. So this is the Malta experience. You have to have tickets for particular show times. It is well worth it, but we did it last time, so we're not going to do it today. We managed to find a nice rooftop terrace bar with a 360-degree view of the city of Valletta. And that's it for the end of our day in Valletta and for this episode. Make sure you join me next time for episode 64 when we take the fast ferry to the neighbouring island of Gozo. In the meantime, take a look at the other videos on the channel featuring Caribbean and Mediterranean cruises. We've also got visits to eco parks and theme parks in Mexico, the United States and Europe. And you'll also find city breaks in the UK and across Europe, as well as short breaks which provide you with top tips, hints and ideas. If you enjoy any of the videos, you can really help the channel by clicking on the like button, ringing that notification bell and subscribing. And I hope you can join me next time for episode 64 of Main Street Martin.
I'm gonna go write a million songs if that's the way to be. I'll write a classic to beat them all and go down in history. I'll be the one to reach the stars, but only if you're with me tonight, 'cause that'll be